When my journalism teacher first told me that we were going to the Indiana Dunes National Lakeshore, I couldn't grasp a reason for the life of me. How on earth is this related to a high school journalism class? How can we tell the story of the dunes, as he says? There's no story to tell in a pile of sand. When we arrived, we knew we didn't have much time, so we got straight to business. We clambered out of the bus, video cameras and tripods in hand, and we found our first interviewees before we knew it. I started to wander a bit. First my eyes, then my ears, then my legs. I started to take in my surroundings. The polished but sandy tile underfoot, the grasses just beyond the guardrail, and then I saw the water. Of course I had noticed the water was there, but in that moment I truly saw it. How far does it go? It seemed to continue until the end of the earth. Even the skyline of the mighty windy city is a distant, minor interruption. It makes me wonder, how did it all get here?
The Indiana Dunes National Lakeshore and Park have a long and rich history. On the eastern edge of Gary, Indiana and Chicago, Illinois, between oil refineries and factories, lies the Indiana Dunes, a park prominent in America's fight to create national parks and save the beauties of America. It began in 1899 with Henry Cowles, a botanist from the University of Chicago, Paul H. Douglas, a senator for the state of Illinois, and Dorothy R. Beale, an English teacher and resident of Ogden Dunes.
According to the National Park Service, the Indiana National Lakeshore during this time was booming with steel mills and power plants. The land was being torn apart to fuel the system of American capitalism.
Hopes of saving the dunes began to crumble as America entered into the Second World War and again when the United States suffered under the Great Depression. After a 10-year petition ending in 1926 by the state of Indiana, the Dunes State Park was finally opened to the public, but the push for a national park still continued. The president of the Save the Dunes Council, Dorothy Beale, went to action. A consortium of politicians and businessmen attempted to buy the area and connect the Great Lakes to the Atlantic shipping lanes. The members of the Save the Dunes Council successfully won the dunes and pressed for the... In 1966, the Indiana Dunes National Lakeshore became a reality, and in subsequent years, 1976, 1980, 1986, and 1992, the size of the dunes increased to 15,000 acres through a series of petitions. On September 29, 2016, U.S. Senator Joe Donnelly and U.S. Representative Pete Visclosky introduced a legislation that would give the Indiana Dunes National Lakeshore the name of Indiana Dunes National Park. By renaming it as a national park, they're hoping to create more awareness of the park and its wealth of natural resources.
The parts of the world that still exist in their natural state, uncorrupted by human deadlines, industry, and concrete. The parts of the world that let you escape from the insanity that is daily life.
Although the National Lakeshore is beautiful and full of biological diversity, like many other national parks, it has its pollution issues. The pollution from these steel mills is making its way into the lake's water and affecting the acidic conditions of the lake itself. According to Park Ranger Bruce Rowe, researchers looking into the effects of a more acidic environment are finding that the closer one gets to the source of the pollution, the fewer the variety of lichen. Pollution from the steel mills around the dunes are making a negative impact on the lichen and other plants and animals of the National Lakeshore.
In addition to one of the natural world, the story of the dunes is also a story of self-discovery, of family, and of relaxation. When you're in the dunes, you can let all of your worries disappear and just live. This was obvious to me, even as we worked on the deadline of making it back in time for the end of the school day.
Community is a major part of any area. Visitors, tourism, and everything in between are what areas like the Indiana Dunes National Lakeshore thrive on. Everyone we spoke to felt a sense of awe and the beauty as they walked through the dunes.
I like the trails and everything. I like the bridges.
And that this is a really special area that we've got to protect, not only for my lifetime, but for future lifetimes.
It's unanimous that this area is worth saving, which is made obvious by the frequent visitors who care so much about the dunes. Steel mills occupy some areas, but others are kept for the community. Preserving the land is so important to these visitors.
My kids cherish it very much.
We are in an ever-changing landscape, and we need to be sensitive to it and I think humble.
In the end, we returned to school and I was quickly sucked back into the insanity of my everyday world. But I learned something that day. The world is more than deadlines, industry, and concrete. And I knew that was exactly the reason we had gone to the dunes.